want to like have to reschedule again because I had a rough
Okay.
day yesterday. But I honestly just believe in showing up in spite of. So that's what we're doing today, and I won't have you for long. But thank
No
you
worries.
for joining us, and I feel like you are going to add, some value to my audience. So thank you again.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I actually met Calvin virtually. I'm sorry, William. Do you prefer William, Will?
Old military, either or, William,
Okay.
Calvin, I'm used to it all.
I
So,
know. Oh my God. Actually met Will. He was doing a training for my department. In the training, he actually mentioned a part of the story, and I was led to just reach out to him and ask if he mind speaking about his journey to sobriety. So that's what this episode is about. Congratulations again on 5 years.
thank you. Thank you.
So you're welcome. Can you tell us a little bit like about your life growing up? Well, like just introduce yourself and tell us about.
I'm William Calvin, from Texas. Growing up, I was mainly raised by my mom, single mom, but my dad was involved in my life throughout. And that's probably once my dad is also or was an alcoholic. So I kind of got introduced to alcohol through watching him and being around him. So I spent 21 years in the military. Throughout the military, I struggled with the addiction of alcohol. And like you said, 5 years, ironically, after I retired from the military, roughly, is when I stopped drinking.
Okay, okay. Which branch were you in?
I was in Army.
Army. Okay, so 21 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Station in within the states, or did you?
I had a couple of deployments,
Okay.
5 deployments. I was stationed in Germany, and mainly my time was spent deployed, but Kansas, uh, now Fort Moore, and
Okay.
then I retired out of El Paso, Texas.
Okay. Is that how you found Augusta? Like just having a military background with putting
Uh,
down Fort Eisenhower?
Actually, Augusta came here through my wife, which she just retired last month, the beginning of last month, and we ended up getting married in 2018. And then by 2019, I was retired, so she came on orders here to Augusta, and that's how I ended up here in Augusta as a dependent following her.
So she's military also.
Yes, well,
Okay,
she just
cool.
retired me first.
Cool. Okay. Well,
Oh,
that's good. So I think you mentioned a few different things I wanted to touch on. I do feel like our family or dynamics and how we're raised can play a role. And I mean, a lot of things from our attitude, how we process things, and different habits that we take on as well. Myself included. Well, I was born to teen parents, raised by a single mom. I kind of have a relationship now with my dad or whatnot. But I do know he would drink a lot, and then also my grandfather. I mean, basically everybody in my family, but I know my grandfather specifically on my mom's side. He died from cirrhosis, so he would take me to school in the morning, and he would have like a beer.
functional
It
drunk.
was no, and he wouldn't be like drunk all day, but he would drink all day, if that makes sense.
Yes,
He was a hard worker. So, a lot of times alcohol, people are able to still function. He would work really hard, but he would, at his job, when he would have like a weekend off or like 3 or 4 days off, he would kind of drink like actual liquor instead of beer. And then we have to be careful because we don't know what's gonna happen. So I do think that has a lot to do with it. Do you think the military played a role in it? I think a lot of times people can have a bad misconception about our military that they can be heavy drinkers.
yeah, absolutely. The military did play a vital role, but like kind of like how you said, with the environment growing up with my dad, and I'm over 40, and it was kind of one of those things like the rites of passage drink. So I remember drinking with my dad at a young age, watching the Lakers. He split a beer between me and my brother and made me, hey, I'm a man. So that's how that started out. And then as I got into my teenage years, I had my sisters. They're a little bit older than me. They had their own place, so that was like an escape way to go there. And then they allowed me to drink. So it transitioned over to the military. My first duty station, 18 years old, fresh out of high school. I was stationed in Germany, and part of the initiation there was a drink. I curbed my language, but it was called the 5 minute F up. So,
Okay.
so then
Was
you
it just beer or is it like mixed with liquor and beer?
whatever they put in on the bar,
Oh,
it's variety. It's a cup about this size, and you had to drink it one shot, and then within 5 minutes, the
and
results
it's
is
a lot of part of like I guess initiations, even like in college and stuff, people and you a lot of times, even though the legal drinking age here is 21, most of us
mhm,
have had our drink before 21. But I
right.
remember going by my first bottle, and this was back in the day because Grey Goose was like my drink, like because I was raised with boys, my uncles, and that's what they drank. So that's what I drank, and so I was so excited to go and show my ID. I can actually legally drink now, so I was excited to go in. Um, Okay, so I know like PTSD is normally associated with the military, but a lot of
Right.
times growing up, depending on your background and stuff, we experience a lot of trauma coming up as well. And now they have studies in science that shows that you don't have to be in the military necessarily to suffer from PTSD. Even being in like a car wreck can cause it.
Yes.
That can bring on like a lot of different emotions. Do you ever feel like you were like an emotional drinker or trying to not feel certain things. Um,
Uh, my first deployment was 2003, the initial push in Iraq, and we lost a lot of personnel and some friends that was close to me. So I would use that to smother the thoughts, the pain, and and then I didn't have a way to lash out, so I would use alcohol to, as everyone would call it, like to calm me down, relax
mhm.
me. So that would just, I would just when I started having those thoughts, that was harder and harder. I would hit the bottle.
Okay.
So kind of like you said, your grandfather,
Yeah.
I drink beer, but when I started having those thoughts, I always went to my favorite drink, Crown, and it
Uh,
would just like, yeah.
yeah, that he was being, and he would. It's so funny because we laugh about it now, which he passed on, but he would drink a half of a half, so it's like a really small bottle, but it was just different. It's different from his, Budweiser, which is beer of choice, but yeah, it was completely different. So that I hope I remember the question, but I wanted to ask, well, I guess I'll go ahead and ask it now. Oh no. What did you ever like really realize it was like a problem, or did it never really become a problem, and you just so happened to stop after you retired from the military? Or
It
and
kind
you
of,
don't have to disclose what it was, but was there like an incident
I
that happened?
would like, yeah, I would like to share it. I'm in the military, kind of like how you said with your grandpa. You see me dress right, dress, top of
Mm-hmm.
everything best NCO, but behind closed doors, I was drunk. My family was suffering from me not spending time. And in 2018, March 9th, 2018, I received a DUI, and I hit a parked car. And then it was just that thing that just said, what if someone was in there, or I could have killed myself. And then that was my rock bottom. And then from that moment on, I said, I knew I had to go through the process, the legal process and everything, but I already had told myself I'm no longer drinking again. And, once you know someone that drank for over 20 something years, they say that statement, everybody's like, yeah, okay. But I knew that at that moment that I wasn't going to drink again.
Okay, that's strong. That's powerful because some people can even do that or worse, like you said, hurt themselves or someone else, and they still don't get to that point where they're like, okay, enough is enough. This just isn't for me anymore. Even with myself, like leading up to this interview, I was like, let me see, because it's like almost culture to like on TV, you see it. I say, come home from work, you have a glass of wine, you have a beer or whatever, just to
Hmm.
relax or like you said. And so I was like, let me see how many days, because I have two younger children. So I do like feel like I go home, I'm cooking dinner, I have my wine and stuff like that, just to kind of mellow out for the evening. And I was like, let me see how many days I can go, without even like resisting the urge or not wanting to have the urge or even becoming frustrated and still to just, like you said, kind of find something else to do or whatever. How long do you think?
You, we call that a dry drunk in the AA community. And like I said, you have to find another uh something to do to fulfill that spot. If you just leave that spot empty, you're not gonna last long. Eventually you'll come back.
Yeah, I lasted 3 days.
3 days.
I was
See?
so happy. I was like, ooh,
Hey, one day at a time. That's what we say. One day at a time.
so dry drunk.
Yes.
So funny.
And
So
see, and then something else they say in AA, I'm sorry. Something
no,
they say in AA, the difference between me and you for his sobriety is one drink.
mm,
That's it. So I can't judge you on your journey. You start out one day or 100 days. Is still every day I have to say one day at a time. So the only thing different between anybody that's struggling with the alcohol, you went 3 days. Okay, next time get back on the horse. Try to go 4 days.
okay,
But as long as you're doing, I would suggest, you know, when you start that journey, try to find something to put in that void. Whether if you was cooking, maybe bring your kids in and help you cook where you're interacting with them. So then you're not, thinking like once you get through washing the vegetables, grab a drink, sip it because it's a routine. It becomes
mm.
a routine.
So I feel like I'm pretty good with like what are they called? Like having activities and things that I do to like fill my time. So even with that, I love to write. I'm an entrepreneur. I work 8.5 hours a day. I'm a mom. All the things, and I still would squeeze it in. So, do you have any, I guess, tips or recommendations on other things you could do maybe to fill the void? Like one thing I noticed I did on my 3 days, like I wasn't drinking like wine necessarily, but I would drink like, well, I like water anyway, but I would just have like a Powerade or like a water. Like I drank more of other things as opposed to like maybe that being my main drink in the afternoon or in the evening. So did you
Right.
have any recommendations?
So I would first say, you know, for an alcoholic or anyone struggling with it, the first thing you have to do is own it. You have to admit that, hey, I have a problem. So, like, you sound like you're a social drinker. So, you may not have a problem with alcohol. But if I start that one drink that you're doing, it could lead to more. But, like I say, if you was saying, hey, I wanted to stop drinking and you identify that you do have a problem, you know, I had to go through some old activities that I didn't do back, when I was in Texas. I started back getting into going back fishing. I realized spending time with my kids, the time that I did spend with them was I was intoxicated, kind of how you were saying with your
Right.
grandfather. You knew that he was buzzed, but in our eyes, we're good. But then,
Mm-hmm.
once I got sober, I realized the moments that I was buzzed or not fully able to do all the activities that was planned had an effect with them. Even to this day, most of my kids are grown. So, like I said, if you have a problem with it, find old activities, find new adventures. Something I did is I did a bucket list. Some things that I knew that I would not do if I was drinking,
Okay.
and then I checked them off as I went through, and those accomplishments. And like kind of yourself is something I did from the time I started my sobriety journey is I just indulged myself with school, and I from that time I uh, earned my 2 bachelor's degrees, 3 certificates, and then
Oh,
like working here. So I major in psychology. I have a bachelor's degree also in criminal justice with a minor in diversity awareness. uh, I pushed the challenge with school. I graduated top of the class in psychology, and in the top percentage of in criminal justice. So those was small accomplishments that I would not have done if I was drinking the way I did. And I'm currently in school now. I got 3 more weeks for school, so I ran out of. It's only certificates in business management. I always I look for new ways. Like even with the job here, being what I do here, I try to go to find schools that's pertaining to that job to just be well diverse in it. So that's my go-to thing is school, any type of school or training I could do. That's something I get a thrill out of because I know if I was drinking, I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have, I'd have been satisfied being retired. I'm good. So
that's exciting. Well, that's a good way to feel the boy. So I think some other recommendations we can tell people. Of course, and this is not physical, which I know you mentioned a few physical things, but like you said, writing or going to school, just using like your brain more, journaling, exercising,
yes.
would be another good thing. Like those are things I would do. I feel like if I did look forward to just going home and like decompressing so much, I would just maybe fill that void with like, let me just go walking, let me,
meditation,
do
things like that.
and
I mean,
studying more.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I
I
was
mean,
gonna
like,
say studying more. I'm trying to find out more about being an entrepreneur as much as I can, so I can feel more
see,
confident.
and that's the start that with your hunger. That's kind of like with my school. Like, you really want to be an entrepreneur, so just use that time and 100% dedicated to trying to do entrepreneurship versus I'm gonna give 10% and then other 10%. And something else that I've learned to get around the people with the same goals or have goals because you could get. I went through it too. When I even had family members, friends put bets on how long you think he's gonna last. I give him a year. I give him this. I give him that. And then I even had them, at family gatherings together, trying to tempt me to drink to just to prove that
Almost
they
like
was
it's a
right.
joke or something. When
Yeah,
it's
it was
really
a
not.
joke. And then I told him me, honestly, if I think today, if I was still drinking, I wouldn't be married. I have a very supportive wife that we've been married going on 6 years. She was there when I was at my lowest and stuck through my struggles to the programs, everything, and you have to have that support tree. And like I said, like without her, I don't know if I would have made it through there as well. But just getting around positive people that may not your vision, but support your vision.
That's important. I'm actually kind of going through that right now, and we'll wrap up in a little bit. But having a positive support system that sees um as much for yourself as you do. Not they can't do the work for you. They can't, complete anything for you, but being around those types of mindsets, that are similar to yours. Everyone doesn't have to want to be an entrepreneur or work in tech or anything like that. But even like last week I was around a group of women, and growing up, another thing, we were super religious. So, sometimes when you grow up super religious, you grow up and you just want to be free because you're like, this cannot be life. But it is all you know for so long. I know people say I was a PK, I was PK. I wasn't a preacher's kid, but I was a church kid. Like I thought everybody in the world was doing what we did, going to church 2 or 3 days a week, and that's a lot. I had to go to therapy for that. But getting around my family necessarily doesn't, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm just saying my mindset is a little bit different. Like knowing that you can actually achieve certain things, and the goal not just like you said, you went to school, but then you went back to school, and then you're still in school. You're always getting certified. You're trying to find things, just to grow and expand. And mine, they look at me kind of like, what's wrong with you? Like, why can't you just be happy with you have a good job? Just kind of live like a simple life, and I just don't really see that for myself. So that was another challenge, actually getting around and being comfortable around a group of women, other entrepreneurs, networking and different things like that. I have to be able to put myself out there because that confidence wasn't necessarily instilled in me. So
Right.
the people around you really, really make a big difference. You don't go
Right.
crazy when you're saying your ideas or your plans or your goals or what you did. You know, everybody's talking about traveling or where we want to go or where we are going to go next. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of everybody
Right.
just having the same type of discussion. So it does help.
Or in it, yes.
Yeah. So, with us wrapping up, are there any like just final thoughts, recommendations, encouragement that you can maybe leave with us?
Yes, I would say something I didn't do at the beginning, but always, like you said, God, you can do anything with God. Anything is possible with Him, and that's where I get all my strength from. And one day at a time. If you're struggling and you fall off, don't give up. Don't give up. And the last acronym I leave with is push. Pray until something happens.
I agree. I agree. I was raised super religious. That came with its own things, but I have a very strong faith, and that is something I'm very, very thankful for because I do believe, you know, all things are possible. And the power of prayer to help you achieve your goals. So,
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am.
That was a good note. But I'm very proud of you. I learned a lot today. And I just hope you just keep going, keep excelling. I wish you the best.
Same to you. And if you need anything to come back, speak on anything, I'm here. And thanks
Yeah,
for
because I
having me.
plan to get bigger and bigger. So I would
You
definitely reach
will.
out.
You will be speaking into
Thank you so
existence.
much. Okay, have a good one.